Hello everybody and warmly welcome to this webinar. My name is André Hoffman. I work as a market developer within ABB, and today we're gonna talk about the new machinery regulation. And for this I invited my colleague Annette Wester-Udbratt, who has a lot of experience in this area. So welcome, Annette.
Thank you, André. Yes, my name is Annette Wester-Udbratt and I'm working as a standardization and certification specialist at ABB. And the reason why we're sitting here today is because of the new machinery regulation. What is it and why is it important? So the European Union wants to make sure that all machinery in EU are safe to use and complying with the minimum requirements. And today we have the Machinery Directive for that, but it's being replaced by the new machinery regulation. And this will then, of course, affect all machine manufacturers within the EU and also those who want to sell the machines into EU from other parts of the world to the customers in EU.
Yeah, so health and safety still on the top of the agenda for us and everybody out there in EU, for sure. So what we will talk about today is a bit about the background. We will also look into some of the requirements. And then, of course, in the end, we try to summarize in a simple way for everybody to follow. And we have a chat function where you can raise your questions, and we will try to answer accordingly. So, Annette, let's get started with the background of this. What is the current setup that we have today in the EU for machine safety?
It will speak a little about history. So since 1st of January 1995, machines put on the market or into use shall fulfill the Machinery Directive. And the directive has undergone some changes since that. It's been amended a couple of times. And for now, we have the valid Machinery Directive 2006/42 EC. And we also have for old machinery, that is these ones put on the market before the 1st of January 1995, also a directive setting the minimum requirements for them and making sure that we have also this for non-CE marked old machinery. And this directive for non-old CE marked machinery also contains organizational requirements that is valid for all machines, independent of when they're put on the market. And now then we are transferring into the machinery regulation.
Okay, thank you so much. So with this new machinery regulation, what is the aim of that?
And one of the aims is to create a level playing field for economic operators and consolidate the leadership of the EU machinery industry. And we also have a lot of emerging digital technologies such as AI, and then the necessity to ensure cybersecurity. And there's a need to establish a high level of trust of these digital innovative technologies for consumers and users. There's also a need for boosting innovation, to embrace digitalization and to reduce costs. And also in line with the new legislation framework, there is now a increased legal certainty and a uniform application. Like example, the safeguard procedures is now streamlined and aligned with other legislation.
And if we also try to summarize a bit what is now changing.
We have been used to saying the Machinery Directive for many years. Now we will need to change what we say to Machinery Regulation. And there is new requirements about, as we said, cybersecurity, machines with self-evolving behavior, autonomous and remote control machines, safety and control systems, risk of contact with overhead power lines for mobile machinery, and more. Also, the machine manufacturer now has the possibility to supply the instructions in digital format only. And by the way, this is also now possible already due to a change in the guide for the Machinery Directive, so that we can apply already now. There is a new conformity assessment introduced, unit verification for individual, particularly complex machines. 6 machine categories, including safety components for fully or partially self-evolving behavior, now require mandatory certification with a notified body. Mandatory certification is nothing that we have in the Machinery Directive. When it comes to partly completed machinery, for example industrial robots, we now give clearer requirements, and a definition for the often discussed substantial modification is added. We have minor changes. We are used to have the essential health and safety requirements in Annex 1. They are now placed in Annex 3. We are also used to say Annex 4 machines. Now we need to change to say Annex 1 machines. And these ones are just, for example, presses, logic units, and a lot more machines. Another entirely new thing is common specification. This is a possibility for the Commission to draw up specification if harmonized standards are missing.
So I would say that then the one big change is that we're going from directive to a regulation. What does this mean?
So by changing from a directive to a regulation, we secure that all changes are uniformly implemented in all member states. This wasn't the case with the implementation of the Machinery Directive, because a directive is directed to the member states in order for them to do all the legislation. And this has been a bit delayed in some member countries. So by, again, a regulation, it becomes law directly. So then we have a uniform implementation in all member states.
And as ABB, I mean, we are manufacturing safety components, as we can see here on the table. Mm-hmm. When do we need to start using the regulation?
All the new manufactured products that we put on the market from the 20th of January 2027 needs to fulfill the machinery regulation. And this is both for machines and logic units and other safety components, as well as some other products are now called related products. So this is a related product nowadays. This, of course, means that manufacturers need to start to work with the requirements of the new regulation in due time before that. It has to be ready in time for the 20th of January 2027. However, the regulation came into force the 19th of July 2023, and some articles in it already apply, for example, for market surveillance. And the period between the 19th of July 2023 and the 20th of January 2027 is called transition period. This doesn't mean that the manufacturer can choose to use Machinery Directive or Machinery Regulation. There is a date, 19th of January 2027 and 20th of January 2027, where we change from MD to MR, Machinery Directive to Machinery Regulation. So that is what we have to apply to.
And I think I got another tricky question for you. We take, for instance, our Eden sensors. We have the Adam and the Eve, and we have supplied this to our distributor, a wholesaler.
Yep.
So if we have supplied them with the products before the 20th of January 2027, but they have not sold it to the end user, maybe until March or April that year. What does this mean?
This is a very good question. And this means that they can still be sold, since we have already put them on the market before the 20th of January 2027. So they can, by then, still be sold. And there is no, limit in time when they cannot be sold anymore. So put on the market before that date, then they can still be sold, even if they are declared to the Machinery Directive.
That makes me very happy, because that means that we don't have to scrap.
Yeah, that's good. That's good, absolutely.
Thank you for that. So let's look a little bit into the requirements. If we start with the scope of the regulation, is it the same as before?
Yeah, mainly. The scope has undergone some changes, e.g. some products such as safety components, slings, ropes, chains and so on are not called machines anymore. They're called related products, which is more logic. So otherwise, the scope is mainly the same.
So for instance, the safety products, they are now a related product and not a machine.
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Are there any other change of safety components?
There has been an adding to the definition of a safety component. So with the regulation, we now also have digital components, including software, in the definition. The definition is the same as before, except this adding. So a safety component needs to be placed independently on the market. That is the same in the directive as well as the regulation. And that is valid also, of course, then for digital components, including software.
And what about existing machines or related products?
Yes. If a machine isn't changed, the regulation isn't affecting those existing machines or related products in use. So, and this is valid not even when a repair or exchange is done. So, however, when a machine is substantially changed, it's considered to be a new machine. And there is a definition now in the machinery regulation about substantial modification. And in short, it says that it's a modification of machinery by physical or digital means after the machinery been placed on the market or put into service, and that shall not then be foreseen or planned by the original manufacturer, and the affects the safety by creating a new hazard or increasing an existing risk. So there will of course be a lot of questions about what a substantial modification might be. There will come interpretations and guidance about this to balance the need for new CE marking when it's required. This is necessary in order to avoid like far-going requirements on CE marking or changed machinery. Because you need to consider that if it is a question of substantial modification, it will require a new certification assessment, and the machine will be considered as new.
So most likely, if you do an annual service and you change a few components because of wearing or something, it's probably no change for that, so to say.
No, you're correct. It will be a substantial modification. That's for sure. Yeah.
And let's say if I'm a machine builder and I plan to deliver my machine before the 20th of January 2027, but of some reason it all gets delayed and I deliver my machine in March or April. What happens then?
What happens then is that it needs to fulfill the machinery regulation, because you put it on the market, you put it into use after the 20th of January 2027, the magic date, so to say. So the machine builder or the integrator needs to understand this and apply this and be prepared for the machinery regulation a long time before it applies.
Okay.
To be sure, yeah.
Yeah. And another example is if I have an industrial robot, which is then partly completed machinery. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, there are new requirements for partly completed machinery in the machine regulation, much more clearer. So saying that you need to fulfill all the relevant requirements. You cannot, of course, fulfill them all, And if we take the example of an industrial robot, it's quite easy to understand that you need to fulfill what is relevant for the industrial robot itself, but you cannot provide the whole safety system around the industrial robot. That would make absolutely no sense because you don't know the application where the robot will work in. So a safety system will be relevant first when you have all the application ready and it's considered to be a machine. But the relevant ones you need to fulfill anyhow.
Okay, got it. And we talked about before in documentation, like we have the label on the product, we have instructions, declaration of conformity. Do we see any changes there?
The manufacturers has now with the machinery regulation the possibility to provide the instructions in digital format only. This is new, this is very good. But a customer can, however, at the time of purchase, request the instructions in paper format. But again, they need to do it at the time of purchase. And then the machine manufacturer has 1 month in order to supply those paper instructions. And when it comes to instructions for non-professional users, there must be some safety information in paper format provided with the product. And also another thing is that the language requirement is still persisting, meaning in practice that if you deliver a machine to France, the instructions must be in French. If you deliver something into Sweden, the instructions must be in Swedish. That hasn't changed.
So on Sentry Safety Relay, we have a QR code. So is that enough then?
Yeah, it is. So then you could also have some information that you could get the instructions via this QR code. But with the QR code, you will be able to get access to instructions, declaration of conformity, all other types of information that we wish to provide by using the QR code. This is really practicable and a good way of saving paper and saving costs.
So also the declaration of conformity
absolutely
is okay to have on the QR code.
Yeah, and again also that this possibility to provide the instructions in paper format only is okay to do already today with the Machinery Directive. The guide to the Machinery Directive has been changed to allow for this. So already today, okay, with the digital instructions only.
And again, if we look at Sentry on the label here, I can see the CE mark. Mm-hmm. Are there any changes on that?
The CE mark shall look like it does, but since this product we have certified at a notified body, and then with the machinery regulation, we need to add the identification number of that notified body to follow the CE mark. That is valid for all machines-related products that involve a notified body in the certification process.
And if we take another example for connected machines, like we have the Safety PLC Pluto, you can communicate with other devices. What about that? Anything in particular that you want to highlight?
Yes. There is a completely new requirement that's called protection against corruption. So this requirement is valid for all kinds of connections. So in order to give machine manufacturers the possibility to fulfill these requirements, I would like to inform also that there's going to be a entirely new standard, which will be called EN 50742. This is under development now. In short, the requirements for protection against corruption is that machines needed to be protected against accidental or intentional corruption. And communication with the machine shall not lead to a hazardous situation. The machinery shall also collect evidence of legitimate or illegitimate intervention in hardware when relevant for connection or access to software that's critical for the compliance of the machine.
So this seemed to be one of the bigger impacts in the new machinery regulation about corruption requirements.
Yep.
Right.
Yes, that's true.
So the only way to get away from that is not to have communication.
Yes, to have like a machine that's working solely on its own with no communication to any hardware or anything else. So it affects a lot of machines and related products. Absolutely.
And when we were talking about this, I was also coming to think of cybersecurity. I guess that is also something that will have a big impact in this, right?
Yeah, you're correct about that. So the importance of cybersecurity is constantly increasing, and it's reflected, of course, also in the machinery regulation. And the paragraph in the Machinery Directive concerning safety and control system has been enhanced with requirements on cybersecurity, that they shall withstand the, where appropriate, to the circumstances and the risk, the intended operator stresses, and intended and unintended external influences, including, as it's written, reasonably foreseeable malicious attempts from third parties leading to a hazardous situation. And one way to fulfill this requirement and also the protection against corruption is to fulfill a cybersecurity certification scheme adopted in accordance with the Cybersecurity Act.
And you mentioned earlier also about the new conformity assessment method.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yes, this is again a new conformity assessment method, and it's called unit verification, which is well suited for individual, particularly complex machines.
And since we're talking about safety, machine safety, I'm thinking about health and safety, which is very important today for all of the industry, I would say. But like the ergonomics, are there anything about that in the regulation?
Yes. There has been added 2 items under the requirement about ergonomics, and this is the human-machine interface, which is focused, and that shall be adapted with respect to machinery or related product with intended fully or partially self-evolving behavioral logic, so that's designed to operate to varying levels of autonomy. And this includes also the communication with the machine that an operator can perform via gestures, via commands, or facial expressions.
And we talked about the safety PLC Pluto. What are the changes for safety and control systems?
Yes, there is, as you say, in the Machinery Directive, a large paragraph about safety and control system, which has been enhanced quite a lot in the machinery regulation with the adding of cyber security, but also a list of requirements for partly or fully self-evolving behavior using machine learning. And there's also a new requirement for intervention in the safety software and uploads that happened after the machinery or related product has been put on the market. So if new software would be downloaded, for example, in Pluto, then this interventions need to be logged. So there's going to be a tracing log of data generated when these interventions happen. And this needs to be stored for 5 years. So the reason is that competent national authorities shall get access to this data if they do request so. This could be relevant if an accident would happen.
Since we talk about human and machine collaboration, what are the requirements on that?
There's a paragraph called risks related to moving parts, and that has been increased with the requirements for human machine collaboration, considering not only about risk of contact that could lead to a hazardous situation, but also the psychological stress. And collaboration with industrial robot has been, of course, specifically in thought, but this requirement is valid for any machine, and it's valid like both if you have a human-machine interaction or if you're just coexisting machine and human.
Before we talked about the instructions, I was also thinking about the content in the instructions. Are there anything particular there that you want to highlight?
They're mainly the same. There has been some addings that is about noise, emission of hazardous substances, and also on the rescue of persons. Otherwise, it's much the same.
Any other changes in requirements that I missed out on?
We have only mentioned like some of the changes that is valid for all kinds of machinery and related products. As well as in the Machinery Directive, we have in the Machinery Regulation specific requirements for specific machinery that needs to be added upon the general requirements. So we have some new requirements on handheld machinery to capture reduced emission of hazardous substances. We have new requirements on mobile machinery considering seating, supervisory function, on autonomous machinery, and also handling the risk of contact with live overhead power lines.
And to guide us and help us, I know that we have lots of standards and that we call harmonized standards that has been valid for the Machinery Directive. But how are those now affected or changed for the regulation?
There are approximately, 850 harmonized standards to the Machinery Directive that gives presumption of conformity to the requirements. So the goal has been to transfer as many of these harmonized standards as possible from the Machinery Directive to the Machinery Regulation. It's not possible to do this for all standards due to that the gap between the Machinery Regulation and the standard might be too big. And some standards could be transferred also with a warning in official journal when these lists are published, a warning that says what requirements are not covered by the standard. And due to that we need to have standards revised, amended, there is intensive work ongoing on this. And they need to focus on some standards, and one is specifically the new B standard about protection against corruption, as I mentioned before, but also on C standard, that is the specific machine standards. So 6 machine categories within Annex 1 requires now mandatory certification assessment with a notified body. But the rest of the machines and products under Annex 1, you could, so to say, self-certify, and then it's required to have a harmonized C standard for that to follow. So we need to focus on revising these C standards for these machines. Otherwise, if they are not in place, it will mean that the manufacturer needs to go to a notified body for a certification.
I assume there will be question marks around this in the near future.
Absolutely. We will see how many standards will be transferred to the Machinery Regulation, how many standards will be revised in time. So that will be published in the official journal, these lists later on.
So great to have you on board at ABB and the other experts that we have, so we can support our customers in these cases.
There's still a lot of questions there to answer, but we will be wiser as we getting nearer as time goes by. Yeah,
that sounds great.
Yeah.
For now, it's time to make a summary, a little bit of a repetition of the key changes and highlights. So if we start with the timeline on this, can you please remind us?
Yes, I will. So the timeline is that the Machinery Regulation applies from 20th of January 2027. So all new machinery, new by put on the market from that date, needs to comply with the new requirements by then.
And we have some difficult words like substantial modification.
Yes.
Can you please clarify a little bit?
Very short, but that definition says like if something is changed substantially after it's been put on the market or put into use and the manufacturer hasn't planned or foreseen that, then the machine should be considered as being new, and then a new conformity assessment needs to be performed on the machine. And the tricky thing is then, of course, to decide when a modification is substantial or not.
And we also talked a little bit about the documentation for the product, which is a part of the product, like instruction, declaration of conformity, and the label. What are the key changes there?
The big advantage now is that the manufacturer can provide the instructions in a digital format only if they wish. And I think that is something that will be really used and very good as well. So via the QR code or something like that, then the user shall be able to, in an easy way, get access to the instructions.
And on the label, there was something about the CE mark, right? If I remember correctly.
Yeah, exactly. So a product, a machine that has undergone a certification assessment at the notified body, then also needs to, here after the CE mark, to provide the identification number of that notified body.
And one of the big topics in this is the corruption. Protection against corruption.
Yes, exactly. So that is when anything communicates, connection between machines and hardware and so on. So no hazardous situation may occur due to these connections, and it should be protected against the corruption.
And on that, we also have the cybersecurity that we talked about.
Mm-hmm.
What do we take from there?
Yeah, there are new cybersecurity requirements that no hazardous situation may occur due to malicious attempts from third parties.
And what about the conformity assessment?
There is a new conformity assessment method or module being introduced, which is called unit verification. And this is specifically for complex individual machinery. And also when it comes to conformity assessment, I would like to mention again that there are some machine categories, namely 6, that now require mandatory certification with a notified body. 4 old, so to say, machine types that is present in the Machinery Directive, and 2 entirely new that has to do with AI or machine learning techniques with fully or partly self-evolving behavior.
There are new requirements on control systems. What about that?
Mm-hmm. We have, as described before, new requirements in that paragraph about cybersecurity, but there are also about products with fully or partially self-evolving behavior. And there's also requirements on data logging that was said for the competent national body to request to see if there's been any changes when it comes to software on the machine and software for the safety purposes.
And we also heard something about specific machine types. What is that?
Mm-hmm. So on top of the requirements that's valid for all types of machinery and related products, we do have specific requirements for specific machines. And some of them are handheld machinery, mobile machinery, and so on. And for these ones, handheld machinery and mobile, we have a couple of new requirements.
And then to conclude, there is harmonized standards.
Yes.
What is the impact there?
Yeah, harmonized standard is an important tool for machine manufacturers in order to fulfill the requirements in the regulation. So as the aim is as try to transfer so many as possible of the standards under the Machinery Directive to the machinery regulation. Of course, that will not be possible with all, because there will be 2 big gaps between the standard and the regulation, and some standards will also have its title published in the official journal together with a warning saying what requirements are not covered by the standard itself. And there's also an intensive work in order to have a new standard for protection against corruption and to revise a lot of other standards.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you have further questions on machine safety or the new machinery regulation, please feel free to contact us within ABB, your local contact. I think that is all for today. So thank you for your participation on this webinar. And we hope it has been useful for you. And we wish you a very good day.